Thanks for tuning in here on this Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with your latest weather update. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the Doppler radar right now as Tropical Storm Nicholas still a story. As we look especially out toward the west here, you see toward Louisiana, a lot of that moisture really on the eastern side of the storm system. It's a weak tropical storm, but still having an impact. A flat foot warning right now in effect until it looks like about 7 o'clock Central Time for Calcasieu, Cameron, there in toward parts of Louisiana. Those parishes, of course, in an eastern Orange County in Texas. So going to continue to watch for that potential here of those heavy rain areas to develop. Those flat flooding concerns still remain. There's also a low end tornado threat. As you can see here, if you look underneath the radar, I'll take it off. For just a second here, you're able to see what I'm talking about toward New Orleans, as there are actually a couple special marine warnings here in place. It's something maybe even for areas in southern Mississippi, southern Alabama to be watching here as we're looking ahead into the timeline. I know tomorrow we're going to be watching the threat here as well, a little bit further off toward the east. We'll be showing that to you in terms of that rainfall forecast in just a moment, with some of that rain even coming in toward the Florida, western Florida panhandle, especially here as we look ahead in toward the period. So just continuing to watch things. I know we were on really late last night at past 4 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Central to keep you updated on Nicholas, as it was a Category 1 hurricane as it made landfall there towards southeastern Texas. But again, conditions improving around the Houston area at this point. So that's definitely some good news here as we're watching things. But we are seeing some power outages remain. So let's go ahead and punch up our power outage.us computer right now. We'll see what the numbers look like right now. I know 227,000 or so, close to 228,000 are in the dark right now. As you can see, as of the latest update towards southeast Texas, still in Matagorda County, 3/4 of the customers in the dark pretty much. Peoria County, about it looks like a third of the customers there without power. As we get toward Galveston County there, Galveston County doing a little bit better as we get over there. And in Harris County, Houston, I know they were in the 80,000 range looking earlier on, so definitely some improvement. Even seeing some outages. I know one pretty heavy there toward Montgomery County, not as heavy as some of the other spots, but still having an impact. Over 10,000 remaining in dark there toward the Conroe area. You see Fort Bend County as we kind of move around Wharton County. Just giving you guys an idea of what's going on here with our system, with what was Hurricane Nicholas last night. Again, just showing you guys some of these different outages there as we move around that region. So Nicholas, again, having an impact. It was a low end, about the lowest end hurricane you can get, but still, it was a hurricane. We still got to watch for that flash flooding danger as we look ahead later on in toward the timeline. Also, if you're watching from North Florida to South Georgia, I don't want to leave you guys out because, of course, we'll be talking a lot about our local weather here, and I'll go ahead and kind of give you a quick update on the radar because we have a lot of tropical moisture here just kind of popping on up this afternoon. We're seeing some different things come into play here, not necessarily with Nicholas at this point, though. We're going to be seeing that influence here a little bit more from Nicholas as we look ahead, not really directly from Nicholas, but that moisture from Nicholas here will be moving in, especially toward the Tallahassee area as we look ahead here later on with the way the atmosphere is set up. So something to watch for. But you do see around Stark right now. I know some thunder. I've heard that here just over the last little bit in toward Bradford County. So something to kind of keep a listen out for. Keep an eye out for sure. And in fact, let's go ahead and pop up our camera. It looks like we have a pretty good shot on that right now. So let's go ahead and jump on over. We'll move away from our radar source right now and jump on over to the camera where you can see looking off toward the west. You're seeing at least some of the storm, and some of it you're not necessarily seeing based on the position, but you kind of get an idea here with some of these darker clouds and in the top right here of this image per se. It says something kind of interesting to focus on here. You can see some more of the darker skies here as they look in the picture as well. So just kind of trying to point that out for you guys as we are looking here again off toward the west of Stark with some of those storms here in play. Let's go back on over though toward our dear Earth computer. You can see what's happening with that. Let's check to see if there's any wind energy and do some more zooming around. So let's go over toward our radar scope computer now. You can see what's happening here. West of Stark there along State Road 100. pretty heavy little sour storm in play. A few lightning strikes again as we referenced there. I'll point them out if you can't see them, but a few of them not far from probably areas there near Madison Street Baptist Church even, as we're looking out there, and the Winn-Dixie area too. So just kind of giving you guys some references there with some of those lightning strikes. Nothing extreme, but I mean, one lightning strike though can cause damage, so and can be very dangerous. So remember this when thunder roars, go indoors here. So I will continue to watch for that. You see some more storminess here as we get west of Gainesville there, Alachua County, getting there over toward High Springs. Just giving you guys an idea of what's going on. Archer there, East Bronson, Newberry, some pretty heavy storms in play here. So again, just remember that mantra when thunder roars, go indoors. And then even a significant weather advisory for heavy rain potential as we're looking here for at least another 6 minutes or so as we're getting closer toward the McClinney area. A storm that was moving northwest at 5, kind of not really seeing that within the polygon here at this point, but nonetheless something interesting to watch within the radar algorithms. So just going to keep our eyes on that here. I'll go ahead and punch myself back up on the camera though, as we do see what we're watching within the radar here. You can see as we zoom on out again, we're watching these areas. I know, again, probably some rotation in here based on what I'm seeing. Not as much maybe as I thought there would be within the radar algorithms right now. This is kind of calculating some things, but there is that waterspout potential as noted by the National Weather Service office there in New Orleans. So just kind of keep our eyes out there with that threat. Again, the track, let's just kind of break this down for you here because this is so interesting and really not good as we're going to have that tropical moisture coming in. Maybe, as I was showing you earlier this morning, maybe some of those storms kind of being replenished here at times. That moisture will kind of maybe come back into the picture here as we're looking ahead some toward nighttime hours. You can sometimes get a pulse up there in the rainfall rate, so we got to be cognizant of that. But you see the T there right near the coast. That's the 4 o'clock central update as we get here. This would be, as I move the map over a little bit, south of Beaumont, a tropical depression there as we get to about 1 a.m. Central Time. So let me go ahead and point that out for you guys. And then as we look here over, so we have 1 p.m. going to 1 a.m., 1 p.m., and 1 a.m. on Friday. So let me go ahead and kind of just make sure we tell you what's going on. So as you can see here, we have our storm in southwest Louisiana as we get toward tomorrow later on here in the timeline. Going to be watching that tomorrow afternoon, and then as we get toward early Thursday, later Thursday here as we just mentioned, and then up toward Alexandria, but maybe early Friday. So it's really handing around, fueling the system here, that tropical moisture coming into play. So I just have to be cognizant because that could lead to some significant flash flooding in spots. Again, we were watching with this storm last night. You can see here as we punch up the graphics, this was a Category 1 storm at landfall. It didn't really look like it at all. I mean, it looks more like a squall line, but it was meeting that criteria in meteorology with those winds there, 74 plus on that Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, which I'll see in just a moment. Minimum pressure 991 millibars. Again, they're strengthening and about 36 hours from a system that didn't even have a name to a hurricane and then making landfall soon after. As you can see here, some damage was caused. Had pretty good storm surge and pretty nasty winds there as well. So having an impact, I mean, not that far off of what Hermine was when it hit the Tallahassee area there in 2016. A little bit weaker in terms of that pressure being a little higher, but nonetheless having an impact there. Pretty populated areas as we're looking off toward the west. But we talked about of course, that rain in Louisiana, and they're having recovery processes ongoing there as we're looking from Ida towards southeastern Louisiana. And we're going to be watching here our rainfall forecast, which could kind of aggravate things. That rainfall coming into play as there's still 96,295 customers here in the dark. You can see them here on our mapping. Lafourche Parish still about half the customers. Terrebonne Parish still about half the customers. St. Charles, same story. St. John the Baptist, you get the idea. Tangipahoa doing better. Livingston as well. But continuing to watch things as we monitor the situation. About 1,000 right now out toward Orleans Parish. So that's looking better there. Looking better in toward that area. But I'm going to continue to watch things with our power at its mapping. Again, there's your hurricane wind scale there. Going over to the hurricane season in general at large. I mean, we're at that peak here, folks, still, and things are active as you kind of would expect. We have a 60% chance of development here as we're looking toward areas there not far from the Bahamas. That's going to move north, not going to really affect our local weather necessarily. Something maybe to watch closer toward the northeast, but then we have a system there coming off of Africa, 90% chance of development. In fact, I'll kind of see, guys, where that is right here. You can see that area of interest as we'll be watching that track off toward the west. We'll just want to see how this evolves later on. Even does it kind of recurve out, or maybe does it track further west before recurving, or does it completely go here off toward the west for a long period of time? If it does, it could be something we'll need to watch here a little bit further down the line, even for our local weather. But we're a long ways off with that, so at least no immediate local direct threats here from the tropics. So some indirect threats there from Nicholas, as we talked about. Maybe even a quick isolated spin-up tornado couldn't completely be ruled out in our western counties from what's left of Nicholas and that moisture, but hopefully that doesn't occur. Not formally outlook for that right now, but Weather Service Tallahassee was talking about a low threat of some rotating storms maybe south of I-10. So again, Nicholas will be checking that off here pretty soon, crossing that off. And Dad and Peter could be next year in the tropics. Next 5 days, that rainfall was just talking about here. We were talking about the issues in toward Louisiana with the power outages from Ida still. Folks not knowing what's coming maybe, and you see a lot of moisture there in play. Orange color there, 5+ inches. You look toward that mustard yellow, you can kind of see that. It's kind of hard to see, but 7+ inches. And then that little bit of highlighter yellow stands out there a little bit. I mean, maybe the word Gulfport there in Pensacola, 10+ inches not out of the question. Now, that's a change. That's a shift here, a pretty considerable shift from what we've been talking about, here in the timeline. You even see off toward the Tallahassee counties now over the next 5 days or so. These amounts adding on up some as we get toward some of these areas out here toward Leon and McCulloch counties, for instance. You can see here maybe upward about 2 inches of rain now in a more widespread fashion. I-75 corridor there, 1.5 inches, something like that possible. So we have risen those rain chances. Those rain chances have gone up. Of course, go to cloudweather.com/radar for the latest on the developments here. As you can see, 60% chance of rain on your Wednesday, 60% on your Thursday, 60% Friday, before we start to see them drop off a little. Those temperatures there about average for this time of year. You see here 87, 88 for this time of year, and that's about what we're going to be seeing as we're looking ahead in toward that timeline. You can see here 87, 87 before a little bit of a rise with those lower rain chances here, the storyline. So something to kind of monitor. Again, those increased levels of tropical moisture. Another fog threat maybe around tomorrow, so that'll be something to look out for in the morning as you're headed out and about. Try to highlight those when we can here. They're a little bit hard to pick out sometimes, but I just thought we'd kind of give you guys that note as we're going to go ahead and continue to watch things with our radar. I know there's some severe thunderstorm watches up toward the northern part of the country here. As we get toward areas there, you see Michigan, there's a low-end tornado threat, and then a severe thunderstorm watch in play here until it looks like about, as we go ahead and click on it, 3 Z's, that gets us to 10 o'clock Central Time, which would be 11 o'clock Eastern Time there. So, again, continuing to watch things, see some storms near St. Louis, thunderstorm watch near Wichita Garden City there. You can see some of these different areas in Lamar, Trinidad there. You can see the thunderstorm warning near Colorado Springs, Colorado. So some storms around here, interesting to watch. But getting it back home now, that local view, you'll be able to see what's happening. The temperatures cooling on downward. I know I'm at down to 77 degrees as we're seeing some of that rain cool air coming to play here. The wind getting up there a little bit earlier on. You see 85 though, Jacksonville, 89 in Albany. So it just kind of shows you where some of that rain has been here on this Tuesday. Another significant weather advisory did just come out from the Weather Service there in Jacksonville. They're now seeing winds up to 40 in an area here as we get further off toward the north. So let me go ahead and shift our attention up there. This is going to be until it looks like about 6:15 or so. Winds up to 40 miles an hour, minor flooding due to heavy rainfall with gusty winds that could knock down tree limbs. and blow around unsecured objects. Minor flooding due to heavy rain is also possible there toward north central Baker, rural parts there, and also south central Charlton County. So interesting to see that. You see some lightning there as well. I'll highlight that for you if you can't make it out. But I know watching some of that there as we're watching the situation there develop. We'll be watching this moisture here in Poyano as things do continue to evolve. I'll come back on camera now. I show you the situation with the radar, and then let's see where we want to go with our cameras now. Let's pop up the baseball grounds camera in Jacksonville. We'll kind of see you guys what's going on over there right now. Give you guys a visual of the situation. You're able to see that it looks pretty stormy out there. This is a pretty interesting shot, in fact. With the dark clouds here in the picture, you can see pretty interesting photo-esque shot, I guess you could kind of say, because this is something I guess you could kind of see there on a wall, hanging somewhere even. So kind of telling that weather story here on this Tuesday as we look outside. I know we're still watching that recovery process up toward the west there, toward Brazoria County, Texas. Just checking to see if we have that camera here. If we can go to that, and it's still offline, it looks like. So we won't go over there. I was just seeing it. We had a weather sim camera over there, but it went out before we were able to show that to you last night. And still out. So that's indicative of those power outages here that are in play as we are monitoring things across the country with Nicholas. Again, some of that tropical moisture. No with direct impacts, direct threats, but something to monitor. I know if we get some significant type flooding up toward the west, we'll be letting you know on Twitter, and then maybe breaking in. We'll just kind of play it by ear. Hopefully we don't have to do that, but if we have emergency flash flooding like around New Orleans or something really serious, catastrophic, which isn't completely something we can rule out here, we'll make sure to break in for you on all the different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Of course, there's local severe weather toward areas here from the Big Bend off toward the east, toward north central, northeast Florida. We're always on for that as when conditions are necessary there. So again, as the conditions do warrant, you see up toward the South Georgia area right now, they're pretty quiet, but we'll continue to watch things. Let me go ahead and close our radar scope technology out here. So we were losing a few frames there on this Tuesday, but again, you see some of that lightning up toward the west. We actually had some interesting lightning shots there coming on out of the southeast Texas area from Nicholas as it was moving through. Kind of interesting as in that winter storm in February had some lightning there as well. That was kind of intriguing to see there. So don't normally get lightning in hurricanes or winter storms, and they've had both there towards southeastern Texas. Definitely interesting to see as we continue to monitor things here in the Weather Center, seeing what else we have for you here, seeing where else we need to go with this covered. I think we pretty much have covered everything we need to here on this Tuesday. Again, back as needed for any local severe weather. There's a tropical storm warning remaining in effect for a couple areas there as we look toward areas there around Beaumont. You see some of that circulation still hanging around. Some wind here up in the atmosphere, but really the rain's up toward the east for the most part at this point, as we've highlighted here with the coverage. So if there's any local severe weather, we'll let you know, cutting in if necessary. Always on for tornado warnings, though. And we're back in the late afternoon time frame, time range, but more information to let you know what's going on with Nicholas, that local forecast, see how the situation is, maybe with some football games later on in the week. Seeing that rain chance right now, looking like it's going to linger. So I just got to be prepared for that potential here, as we've now had 19 named storms in the U.S. since last year here, folks. 8 of them this year, 11 of them last year. Generally, we only have 3 a year there. So something that's incredible to see. That's according to meteorologist Bob Henson there on Twitter. But again, just incredible numbers, folks. Incredible numbers. 19 named storms last 2 years. We generally only have 3 a season. Again, already 8 this year, hitting the U.S. I'm talking about. And we had 11 making landfall here in the U.S. last season. So incredible. Of course, the two hurricanes this year, Ida and there also Nicholas. Ida much worse there overall, but Nicholas isn't done yet, so can't write off some of the impacts. Could be deadly in spots with that flooding potential. It's not going to be about the wind and the surge at this point, but it's going to be mainly about flooding, maybe some isolated tornadoes. That's still a threat, so we'll keep an eye on all that for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great night. Stay safe out there as we watch the Doppler radar, as we watch everything that's going on here across the local area even. I'll show you that. You can see as I zoom out really far, getting an idea of some of that local storminess, not severe weather, but some stronger storms at times. And then, of course, Nicholas there in that weather picture off toward the west. Have a great night.